How's it going, everybody? I am Donut. This is, of course, a Black Lives Matter, all cops are bastards, and trans rights supporting channel. You better be supporting that shit too, where you can fuck right off. This is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Now, I do know this takes place, assumingly, immediately following after the previous one. I know it takes place right around that time, so assumingly it's going to take place immediately afterwards. What are my predictions for this? I don't know anything else aside from that, so what are my predictions for this? I think Peter's dad is probably going to be the villain of this, and that's going to be our main, like, emotional crux, but I do hope that we don't have to focus on that too much. Guardians 1, we had to have the cold open with his mom, and then we focus on that for a lot of the movie, and I'm kind of just hoping this one could be a bit more fun, and we don't have to focus on the sad dad stuff until the end, and that's my hope. That's it. If you want to see the full length, check it out in the description below, because there's only the full length, there's nothing else, and that's the way it is. Okay, we are here for the discussion of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Finally, a breath of fresh air after not quite a bit. Really just Civil War and then Doctor Strange was not a two that I wanted to go bam bam, back to back with. So, this was a breath of fresh air. Still has the problems that MCU always has. But aside from that, this, I felt like this is the first, this is the best villain in the MCU, okay. I feel. How do you feel about that? So far,
I don't know if I'd say Ego is the best villain, but he's definitely, in my top 3, at least.
Who, so far, would you, rank above him? Because, I felt he was... I think a big part of that goes into the fact that he isn't immediately villainous. It's one of the things where you go into, you're like, okay, there's something we shouldn't trust about this guy. There is plenty to question and everything like that. But because they're not immediately villainous, it creates more intrigue into what specifically they're doing. The plan was not immediately obvious and everything.
I'll say my top 3 would be, right now, Loki, Ego, Zemo.
Right. It's hard for me to think about Loki, because he's the only one that's reoccurring.
Yeah.
Loki does go above him, but Loki's in a completely different league when you talk about, MCU villains. So, aside from Loki, because it's so different. And what'd you say, what's the other guy's name?
Zemo from Civil War.
Zemo? Yeah, he's good, but I would definitely still put him below Ego.
Yeah, that's fine. And, I do really like Ego both in terms of his personality and also just the number of visuals we get for him.
Yeah. We get a lot of great, there's plenty to remember, very striking visually. And, having the most personal connection with, the main character, goes a long way as well. So, overall, I would definitely say that he's my favorite villain so far. Also, the movie had, the best comedy, absolutely, the MCU is a very, casually comedic thing, while this was, absolutely a comedy. Way more so, I felt like, than Guardians Volume 1 was. Guardians Volume 1 felt more like it was the MCU, whereas more casual comedy, and it wasn't it was done more so than the other movies, but still felt restrained from how extremely hilarious this movie was.
Okay, I can see that.
I was dying of laughter every fucking 5 minutes, every 10 minutes, whatever, it was constantly.
Yeah, I think of them as being equal, but part of that might also be that Guardians 1 is in Phase 2. It's surrounded by more, serious stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas, by Phase 3, there's been more in the MCU, and, the movies have been opening up a lot more also. There's a lot of stuff they're doing now that they wouldn't have ever done in, Phase 1. Yeah,
so well, I feel like wouldn't that make it feel, I guess you're saying, it wasn't as funny, but it stood out more because of that.
Yeah, because it was, the MCU funny movie.
Yeah, whereas this one, even being surrounded by all the other ones, I wouldn't say that Phase 3 has had a lot of trying to be funny movies, though.
Sure. Okay, fine.
To be fair, from what I've seen so far. Doctor Strange was very serious. And to be fair, maybe that's all the same thing. Going off about Strange into this was... But, I watched plenty of comedies on the channel, and this was making me laugh as hard, if not harder, than some, just actual straight-up comedies have made me laugh. So whoever was the comedic writers of this movie were doing amazing jobs, and I imagine it was kind of separate because there's plenty of jokes that are very like one-off, like you could do whenever.
Yeah.
So I wonder how the writing staff of this movie was.
Same. Like, all I've ever heard about from behind the scenes is James Gunn saying, yeah, I did that. But I genuinely don't know if there's a comedic writing staff. I assume there's gotta be.
I feel like there has to. I mean, either way, they did a good job.
Yeah.
Did a really good job on the comedy. I don't know what my favorite joke of the whole movie might be the payoff of the my nipples are sensitive, and then the end of my nipples. That might be the best. I don't know if it's that or the Scotch tape. Like that is, or just tape in general.
The tape scene is really, really good.
Yeah, both of those absolutely number one.
Okay.
I think they're tied. I don't think because there's so totally different types of comedic scenes. It's so hard for me to pick one over the other, but I love them. I fucking love them. I mean, Drax was so much funnier this movie. Like Drax in the first one was like, oh, he's weird, whereas this one was like, he is just comedy man. He just delivers all the comedy. Every single line is great. Like, I don't think there's a bad line from Drax in the entire movie. Everything he says is hysterical.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, again, I feel like going from Volume 1 to Volume 2, there is so little, carried over in terms of their character. Like, a lot of the stuff that made their characters in Volume 1 is not here at all, and then all the stuff that makes me love them in Volume 2 is not really there in Volume 1.
That is really weird.
It is strange. Like, they are almost completely different characters. It is almost like it's another adaptation of Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean,
I could see that.
It is following over,
Yeah.
But, like, it's the very specifics of their character. Like, Drax not understanding, turns of phrase. Completely gone. Not done once this movie.
Mm-hmm. Like, now it's more that he's extremely stubborn. Like, the thing with the batteries. Yeah. Where he just, immediately says, oh, it's like this. And then he just sticks with that, even though everyone tells him it's wrong.
Yeah. And even with the Gamora thing, like, oh, I thought my thing was guns. Where it's just, we're just changing it up constantly.
Yeah. Which is pretty wild when you remember, this is almost, essentially the next day after Volume 1.
Is it the next? I feel like this was a couple months after, at least, because Groot, maybe not months, but weeks at least, Groot had to have enough time to grow from that twig to what he is here, and then all throughout this movie he didn't grow at all. So
yeah. This movie's all, a day or so.
Yeah. No, it's a couple days.
Is it?
It's a couple days. It goes to night multiple times.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So, yeah. Where do we want to move on? I think that's a good, overall... I wanted to give a brief, overall whole opinions on the movie and everything like that. And I will say, again, as just overall things, maybe like Nebula a lot more up until the scene with the clash between her and Gamora. That's, I should have expected it. But I did really love that it felt like more than plenty of other characters, even main characters in the MCU. It really felt like she was super hard trying to kill Gamora. And I was like, damn, I didn't think they were actually going to keep her this, headstrong in this plan. And then she just very quickly, gave it up. But it did, looking past that, I do like her. Maybe like Gamora a lot less than I already did, which was not much at all because, I mean, it's a fucking MCU movie. They don't want to write women. So, which is why I was surprised about Nebula. But then in the end, they had to do what they always do. But yeah, that I feel is my overall thoughts. Let's dive in deep now.
Oh boy.
Let's get into these.
So, we're probably not going to revisit this, so I want to talk about the Anulax fight at the very start, the Obelisk fights.
Okay, is that the name of the creature?
Yeah, it's the weird interdimensional creature. It's like vomiting rainbows.
Yeah. That was absolutely incredible. I feel so bad for the artist who had to design that entire fight, and they're going to go, yeah, we're going to blur out the whole thing, though. I wonder if there is a non-blurred out version in a DVD or something like that. I doubt it, because that would require so much more work. Because you can also
Yeah.
be so much more lazy if you know it's going to be blurred. But
Yeah.
that's still a hell of a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
You're not going to, really... It's going to be easier to process and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
But for the artists themselves, it's not going to be any easier, because they still got to do it and then blur it.
Yeah, because they can't be that lazy about it. Like, you have to be able to look at the background, and it's still a fight that makes sense, and, like, all the effects still make sense.
And it looks really good as a fight in the background blurred out.
Yeah.
Like, just as that, like, even if you just look at it and ignore Groot entirely and just focus on it as a fight, it looks really cool.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of cool shit happening.
Bro, imagine being James Gunn and telling everyone, all right, you're going to animate this fight in the background. I am going to do the mocap for Baby Groot. That is true.
I know, you told me that. I can't believe that.
And I'm going to be dancing, and you're going to look at me while the fight is happening. But I really like that fight because it does set the tone for what the whole movie is of, like... It is not just a gag fight in the background. It is gag fight in the background, but then there is a transition into the fight itself, and it is a serious fight, like as serious as the fights get in Guardians.
Yeah.
Like,
It's a very D&D-esque sort of, like, thing they're going for, even in the end fight here and in the beginning, where it's a sort of, like, you can fuck off and just talk and have fun and joke around in the middle of this fight that does have galactic-level, threats and everything.
Yeah, a lot of people say it's like anime logic, but I do think D&D logic is the best way to put it. Where like the characters are all like capable of doing serious things, and when they do them, they're going to do them correctly for the most part.
Yeah.
But you also have like the player chatter at the side where they can say like, "Hey, do you have any tape?"
Yeah.
I run around the entire battlefield looking for tape.
Yeah, like see, that is not anime shit. That's D&D shit. Absolutely. I mean, and all of them work on such D&D logic. Drax is the most D&D character I have ever seen come to life. Like he is invincible. Absolutely invincible.
Drax is playing a different character than anyone else. Like, he's playing a different campaign.
Yeah, I mean, he is the ultimate min-maxed character. Like, intelligence, absolutely bottom of the barrel.
I think the scene where they're crashing on on the forest planets, and Gamora's holding Drax, really shows the scale of strength of the crew just on average.
Yeah.
And that the Gamora scene, like, I never think of it this way, but it is so much more impressive than Steve holding down the helicopter in Civil War.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like in terms of just raw strength and not being torn in half.
Yeah, it's so like they have to be made of so much shit. It's the same thing we talk about with like, the series with Inhumans, where it's like, okay, all Inhumans have to have like a base level of super strength. All these powered individuals have to have a base level of super strength. Now, like, okay, anybody in space has to have this base level of super strength. And then Drax is even way farther above that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, Gamora will get hit with something really hard and go, ow. Whereas Drax will get hit by 1,000 trees at 500 miles an hour and go, ha ha ha, I loved it. he is something else entirely.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, the fact that he is fighting galactic level threats with knives. Like, I mean, it's so insanely D&D. It is we're in space fighting people, and I still have my sword, though.
Yeah. I also really like that scene really does sell the family dynamic of the Guardians, in that Groot's just kind of like dancing around, and everyone, like, we get almost a scene of everyone trying to babysit him at one point or another.
Yeah.
Like, in the middle of the fight, but they don't, like, they do tell him to go, to head off, but they don't, like, throw him anywhere or put him in a bag or anything.
It is a very dysfunctional family.
Ah, yeah.
And that they're all only together, they only feel like a family over Groot.
Mm-hmm.
It's a real, we're staying together for the kids situation. But yeah, I would say, the Guardians didn't really feel much like a family at all until I would still not say they felt like a family. They don't really feel like a family. They feel like a D&D group. They do. I feel like when they try and push the family stuff, it's a little bit, all right. We haven't earned this yet, okay? The Avengers haven't even earned this, okay? Like, you can't just do this in 2 movies. And so, yeah, I mean, that felt a little bit cheesy. But they felt like a coherent group that I wanted to see, like, them do more stuff together at the end final fight.
And to be fair, I do feel like the movie in general has a problem with wanting to talk about family, but not really being able to sell the family vibes a lot.
Yeah.
Like, you also get that with Yondu, where...
Oh, yeah.
As you said...
I love Yondu, but there's no emotion behind him being Peter's dad. They give me one frame of it.
There's exactly one frame of him as a kid with Yondu. But yeah, like there are character dynamics that feel really good, but whenever they say, he's my dad, or you're like me, or like, we are all a family, like there's something weird about it.
Yeah.
I can't put my finger quite on it, but there's a layer of like distance there, and it feels a little strange.
Yeah, it is. It is the, with the Yondu and Racket, why do I keep saying Racket?
Racket Raccoon.
And Rocket scene, where I also gotta stop slapping my hands because it makes so much noise. It was a good scene. I was like, oh, this is nice. It does feel a little bit weird though, but nice. And because they were characters that barely interacted. You know? But I immediately could see where they were going with it. And it was like, okay, this is gonna be a nice scene, even if it's weird and makes a little sense. But you know what? They can get away with that one.
Sure.
But the other ones, no, no. But yeah, I think they fit now. At the very end, they feel like a group that I want to see more of. Do stuff. Whereas a lot of this movie was a very like, oh yeah, they are the Guardians, as opposed to like, just a bunch of people in a movie. Like, they never really felt like a group that I cared about. It felt more just like, I want to see what Drax is doing. I want to see what Rocket's doing. Okay. Less of like, I want to see the Guardians do something together. I didn't have that feeling, but then when it happened at the end, I was like, okay, now I have this feeling going forward.
Yeah, I feel like in Volume 3, I'm really hoping that they don't split the group up again. Because, I get why you would want to for any ensemble thing. Like, it's easier to work with the characters and give them more spotlight if they're split up. Yeah. But at the same time, we get so little of the Guardians as one cohesive whole. Yeah,
I mean, you can... I think, like, Act 2 is where you would split them up, right?
Yeah.
You gotta have all of Act 1 with them. I mean, that's kind of what we did this movie.
Kinda.
A little bit. But they never felt, like, even again, in the beginning scene, even when they're together, they don't really feel that cohesive. Mm-hmm. They don't really feel like they're... It's all towards Groot rather than interconnected between themselves.
Yeah.
Whereas the end was way more interconnected and way more fluid and natural feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So, even if they're together, that doesn't necessarily mean... You gotta have all of Act 1 making them feel like a unit, and then all of Act 3 making them feel like a unit, if you want to do that. I mean, hopefully you could do it throughout the whole movie, but I know they want to do their Act 2 drama. They always gotta do the Act 2 drama.
That's the structure.
I guess also, like, speaking of Guardians Volume 3, when we get to it, that does bring up interesting questions of, like, ethical media consumption and everything. And here's my take on, like, okay, first up, I will be watching Guardians Volume 3 and doing my reaction to it. But, like, and there's also, like, Chris Pratt is a piece of shit, and he's fucking Star-Lord in this. And with actors, it's a lot actors, musicians, and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It's a lot easier to separate the person from the art and everything, or whatever. Whereas then when it's like a director, it's way more like, well, it is their thing. Like that's mostly, and it's way more when it's like. Mangaka is like, that's one person. Like, that's the whole thing. And so, when you get more brought it out, and my rule, especially for directors, has always been if it's anything before any, like, allegations that come out or anything, is completely fine no matter what time.
Okay.
Even if it is after the allegations, you can watch that stuff or enjoy that stuff perfectly, ethically, 100%. Nothing wrong with that. Even if it's after, that stuff's coming out. Because, just the context of it is completely different. Whereas, after it, it's like, like normally I would not watch Guardians Volume 3, but I torrent everything anyway. I want to give absolutely no money to Disney or any of these fucking people, so I torrent all this anyway. Nobody's getting any of my money, and if anything, I'm getting money from it that I will then donate to something else. So, you know what, I'm fine with it in that sense, and that's why I'm going to be watching, Volume 3. But I felt like I should probably address that, and I do think it's something I think about a lot, like the levels of, director is so much worse than an actor or something.
Yeah.
But an actor, I really don't give a shit, Even after the allegations come out, it's like, it's so hard to have ethical media consumption when it comes to actors, because they're fucking all awful. I mean, also with directors, most of them are also awful people. But there's certain, like, levels of, when it's a director and it's like, oh, that's a little bit iffy. But yeah, I feel like we should at least address that.
Yeah.
What?
So, speaking of Chris Pratt, let's
Yes.
talk about Star-Lord.
Oh boy. I mean, what is there to talk about Star-Lord? He is, again, they took out pretty much the entire music part of him in this movie. It came up with the "You Crushed My Walkman" and the, getting the Zune, which I guess now Guardians Volume 3 confirmed to have 500 songs in it.
Yeah. Well, I do think this movie, like, in Volume 1, it was this combination of he likes music and he loves music because he loves his mom.
Yeah.
And this movie does seem like kind of split that off into Rocket likes music more so than Peter does.
Yeah.
But Peter likes music because of that connection to family.
Yeah.
And so we have, like, in the end, his biological dad destroys his music, and then his adoptive dad gives him more music.
Yeah, I guess that is the good way to put it. But it is weird that, Rocket had no sense of, being the music guy in Volume 1, and now he is super heavily way more the music guy in this one. And yeah, so taking that away from Peter, that's the main thing that I liked about him.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty much the only thing I liked about him. I have a very personal connection to music as well. I feel like very autistically connected to it. It can make me love a character so much more than anything. I think that's also why I really like Guardians, because it just has so much licensed music, and I am a huge fan of using licensed music to amp up a scene and everything like that. But yeah, Peter is fine. He's not a character I have problems with. He's not a character I'm actively like, oh, I don't like them or anything. Peter is the milk toastiest of all characters.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem with Gamora as well. She is the milk toastiest of all the characters. But there's so much less that, like, Star-Lord at least has the backstory that you need to have for me to at least be like, whatever, okay, they are borderline. Whereas Gamora, all of the backstory is told. Right. So, whatever.
Yeah, it is pretty tough because, like, Guardians is pretty good about getting you to understand, like, this is what this person is like, this is what that person is like.
Yeah.
But Gamora, like, I don't really know what she's like in a deeper sense than just, like, she is the female, like, badass alien character.
Yeah, like, she's just, everything I can say about what I know about her just fits a trope.
Yeah.
There's nothing I can say about her aside from that.
Like, even the end where she's talking to Nebula, and Nebula's like, I'm going to go kill Thanos. That's what I'm going to do. That's good for the world. And Gamora's like, well, if you're with us, you can help save all the little girls in the universe. Like, is that Gamora's thing? Does she want to save the little girls in the universe?
Yeah, I don't know. She is just placeholder for line.
Yeah.
She is just love interest for Quill. Like, I can see what they're trying to, in their minds. It's like instead of having love interest be the, like, unpowered person who, is unrelevant to everything, we'll make them super relevant, always in your face, in front of the screen, and still have them be equally undeveloped and everything.
I mean, at the very least, I'm glad Guardians 2 does not continue with Drax constantly calling her a whore for no reason.
Yeah. I also, I'm glad because I don't want to have to watch whatever garbage would be written about Peter and Gamora's relationship. But I should have seen it coming. But of course they're going to do the thing of like, oh, there's some unspoken thing here, huh? It's just like all those stuff where they never do anything about it, right? Into the movie, do nothing about it.
Yeah. And the movie does get to have its cake and eat it too with the, like, Peter is, not stronger than Gamora, but he is closer to being a god than Gamora is. But he is also depowered, so they can maintain the relationship of Gamora is the badass one who's way stronger than he is.
Yeah.
But he is the more, like, cosmically important one.
Yeah, I gotta be honest, I don't understand why he lost his immortality and god powers.
So, from what I understand, like, from what they said in the movie, Ego has, like over the course of, like, millions of years, he's built up this light. And there's a difference between, like, him using his normal powers and him using the lights within the planets.
Okay.
So, when Peter's using his god powers, he's also using Ego's lights.
Okay.
Like, it seems like it's just, like, a shortcut to getting all the god powers. Which includes, like, immortality and, like, being able to make whatever you want.
Okay, so So he could only do that, like, making the ball and everything that was only possible on that planet.
Yeah. But, like, here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Ego had to have been lying when he said, like, without me, you won't have any powers at all. Like, you'll be nothing. Because he specifically kidnapped, or, like, he took in Peter because he needed the power of two people.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I don't see what this means.
Like, how... That means Peter has to have some light within him.
Yeah. That's what I was getting at. Like, even if it's not, the same level or anything, mm-hmm. It's still, like, he should still be immortal in the same sense that, like, he would be. Mm-hmm. If they are the same thing. I mean, not really. Peter is a lesser version, but
mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, it was just...
I guess the difference really is, like, Ego is not immortal in the sense that, like, if you blow up the planet, he's done.
Yeah, I mean, why couldn't they just make Peter that then? Because, like, if they didn't want to run into, like, the problem of, like, oh, well, then we have an immortal character. It's like, he's not really immortal. You still could kill him.
Yeah, but I mean, like, presumably, if Peter has a light of his own, it's probably in him. So if you blow him up, he's probably going to die anyways.
Yeah, but that's saying, like, if you shot him in the heart, he would die, versus shooting him in the heart and he wouldn't die because his light's in his brain.
Right. It's
assuming the light is the brain is what it seems like.
Yeah.
Like, literally.
Like, Ego started just as a brain. Like, I guess the Ego is still just a brain.
Yeah.
Like, the planet's around him. The contract he makes is just, like, him making a thing.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, so, at least right now, Peter not immortal, but maybe.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, they said he's not. So, we'll whatever. So, also, this basically, like, it's got to confirm that that Earth is the center of the universe, essentially.
Right. It's, like, you...
Yeah, so, I know that is a thing from the comics, that, like, Earth is the center of the universe, that's why all the aliens look so humanoid and everything like that. And, with the fact that when he just created himself as life, the very first thing he did, like, he just was a human. Like, a human, not even one of the alien humans, mm-hmm. just a Earth human. And so I feel like that has to mean, like, that is what all life is based off of. Mm-hmm. And, or maybe all intelligent life at the very least. Mm-hmm. All intelligent life branches off from that point, much like there must be, the common ancestor that we have.
Right.
We are the common ancestor for all aliens. And it's not something that he caused himself, but that has to be confirmation of something even way before his time, mm-hmm. Caused all this to happen in that way. And I wonder if we'll ever see that. But it does feel like something had to have caused it rather than it being it feels like something like a celestial would have gotten involved with rather than something that was like naturally happened that way. And if I know Marvel, that's the way I feel like they would go about it. And yeah, then we do see that they're in that one like egg image thing, where it's like him mating with all the different races that he's ever found or whatever. A collection of them at least. Yeah. There's plenty of them that aren't humanoid. And that is interesting because, like, again, the only like unhumanoid ones we've seen has been like the blob thing inside the prison, and mm-hmm. that's really the only one I can think of.
Yeah.
So it is interesting. Like, there is other ones out there, but I wonder why we don't ever see them.
Yeah, and the only one that actually managed to be half celestial was a human.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That is a big thing as well. Yeah. So, out of everything in the entire universe, only a human was able to become a celestial. That has to mean that they are, and why powered individuals seem to be an Earth-only thing. Right. If you're an alien, you don't really have like I fell into an alien nuclear waste plant and now I have this power. It's usually just, this is my thing,
Yeah.
Or I have a robot thing that makes me do this thing. Mm-hmm. Or just my whole race is, I guess, invincible like Drax. I don't know. But yeah, it definitely seems like Earth is special.
Yeah. Also, when Ego, like, first comes into existence, according to his own words, he came into existence alone.
Yeah.
So, like, there were no other Celestials when he could, like, at least try to find them. Because he brings it up, like, a bunch of times, that at least, he is alone, and when Peter awakens his powers, that's the first time he says he's ever, not been alone.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I get. Yeah, he definitely hasn't found any other Celestials. That's definitely true.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's like, when he first made the brain, I don't think that necessarily means that there was no other Celestials.
Okay.
And also, that is true. How did he not find any other Celestials? We know there's others out there. Like, is Dormammu not a Celestial?
No.
Oh, he's not? What do they call him?
They call him like a god.
Okay.
Or like, a being from another dimension. I guess that's also it. Like,
yeah.
Presumably Ego's only looking in this dimension.
Yeah, that's a good point. There is other dimensions. And also, maybe Dormammu is a big G god and Ego is little G god.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if there is other Celestials out there, he definitely didn't find them for some reason. I mean, they could have just maybe, it's not like he can sense life, right? So if they didn't want him to find them, they wouldn't have let him find them. I assume.
Yeah, like if he's just a random outcast or something.
Yeah, because like that is interesting. Like, why was he born alone? He had to search them all out on his pod thing and everything. So he definitely. It's not. Yeah, I'm getting at. If they wanted to hide, they could. I think this is not like he's the only Celestial thing. Or a definite there was no others when he was around. Yeah.
Also, it does seem like it's relatively, like, not common knowledge, but, like, in the, like, ships and stuff, you can just plot a course to Ego's planets.
Yep. Yeah, people are just like, yeah, go to Ego Play. Yeah. I really thought it was secret place, but everyone's like, yeah, that's Ego. We know where that is.
He said he was on, like, the edges of known space, so maybe he's, like, just on the edge.
Yeah.
Because you can just get there if you need to.
Also, that is a, interesting point of, like, has he not even explored past that then? Like, I mean, that would be an explanation why he hasn't found other Celestials if he's just explored kind of, not that much in the grand scheme of things. I mean, compared to all of the universe.
I mean, universe big.
Universe very big, and if it's the known universe, I mean, we have a known universe, and that ain't that big. So, either way, I assume it's the thing, like, like Mantis said, you don't have fleas on your back, and people are probably just like, yeah, you go to that planet and he kills you. And, they're not going to be like, we're going to stop. It's like, well, he's the only guy on the fucking planet. Why would we stop?
Yeah.
They probably don't give a shit.
There's lots of powerful stuff in the galaxy that you just don't mess with.
Yeah.
It's just there. Whatever. Who cares?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's probably more like myth. At that point, because I was thinking more that they just wouldn't care. Like, they're more just like, why would we give a shit about this random planet that has one person on it that kills somebody if they go there? When it's like, we have all this other, there's not much there that they would want versus other planets that have already civilizations or shit going on.
Yeah.
That they would want to take over.
Like, if you want some celestial brain fluid, you go to nowhere, you mine it.
Yeah.
Why would you fight an actual celestial?
Yeah. So, okay, yeah, I guess that is another Celestial that we know of.
Yeah, well, a dead one.
Well, yeah, a dead one, but still, that was a Celestial. Also, by the way, I do like the names in this one I liked a lot more than in the first one. Like, Sovereign and Ego and, I mean, Nowhere was a good one as well. I like the names like that as opposed to, we're at Hargle Flargon Fantasy Name, Like, I hate the just like, all right, just let me punch into a random fantasy name generator, a random space name generator, and slap that on the screen. Like, I mean, it's mostly, referencing old comic stuff, but that's basically what old comic stuff was.
I'd say old comic stuff is a combination of, here's a real wacky name, and here's a very on-the-nose name. And that's how you get stuff like Gargle Blargle Blarg, but then also Ego.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, I'm glad they're sticking with the more normie ones than the ones that are like way or like Kraglin. The Kraglin feels like you're just hitting a randomize on a name generator.
Oh, by the way, since we're kind of on the Ego train, fun fact: Ego is not Peter's dad in the comics.
Okay, gimme this trivia.
It's not that interesting.
Okay.
Peter's dad in the comics is a conqueror named Jason. J-S-O-N.
Jason.
He's not that cool. No one likes him.
Okay.
One of the first things we knew about Guardians Volume 2 was James Gunn saying, so you're going to see Peter's dad in this one. Also, it's not Jason. I'm just going to tell you right now. It's someone else.
So were people in Volume 1 thinking that it was Jason?
Yeah. Like, that was presumably the reason why they also said, like, yeah, I don't like this guy, he's an asshole.
Okay.
And that still works for Ego. Ego also, still an asshole.
Yeah, I mean, especially coming from Yondu.
So much more of an asshole, honestly.
Yeah, asshole was putting it lightly from Yondu. Like, he was killing kids!
Oh, actually, I really want to say, I really like that Yondu's whole thing with the Ravagers and him breaking off, like, a lesser movie would have gone with the, by the way, that was all a complete miscommunication. But the movie makes it very clear, no, Yondu told the Ravagers exactly what was going on, and they still said, you were dealing in kids, that's not what we do, that's real messed up. And he was actually dealing kids. He took, like, so many, all those kids that were in Ego, so many of them, all dead. Like, it is like an almost unforgivable sin.
Yeah, like, it everything fully makes sense. Like, Yondu's storyline is the strongest. I'm so... let me say, I don't know how I would have written it in another way. Like, you gotta have... Like, there's no other way to get out of that situation, you know? With the way it was... I don't know how I would have written it differently. Yondu, I feel like, had to have died. But he had the strongest storyline in this movie. Absolutely the best, like, mystery, thing going throughout it, because I wasn't expecting it to be that good. I kept expecting it to be not as interesting as, but then by the time it was tying up the end, I was like, damn, that's really, like, genius way of tying it all together. Holy shit. And I didn't see it coming at all, because I was not I was like, they're not gonna make this very interesting.
It's one of the rare times where that viewpoint has actually made it better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Yondu.
Yeah, because I feel like for a lot of that, I was like, this must be like a big comics reference thing, I'm like, I don't really know what's going on here. But by the end, I'm like, oh, okay, so no, that actually all, like, works in a movie as well as it does. Really, really well done.
Yeah.
Insanely well done.
The only thing that is a, like, this is just a comics reference is in the end credits.
The end credits thing, yeah.
When Stakar's like, we gotta get the old gang back together.
Yeah. Okay, so is it fine to talk about that? Okay.
Like, I won't say anything too deep in case they do come back as, a group, but basically they are all a reference, including Yondu, to the original Guardians of the Galaxy. Okay. Who are, like, a team that were not part of actual Marvel canon. They existed in, like, the 30th century.
Okay.
They were, like, insanely different. They were just like these vagabonds in a post-apocalyptic future.
What? Like, you said this is non-canon?
Yeah, it's on canon to 616. It is, like, a different universe now.
Was it like now? So, like, was it canon at the time?
Even at the time, I don't know if it...
Like, how was it introduced, as a run?
It was not in a... It wasn't in a Guardians of the Galaxy, like, main thing. It was in one of those, like, general sci-fi, like, compilation comics that would come out.
Okay.
Like, they just did a run that was like, hey, here are these guys from the 30th century. They're the Guardians of the Galaxy.
And that was before the Guardians of the Galaxy was a concept of a group.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, when 616 did the Guardians of the Galaxy, it was just a, like, that's a cool name. Let's just do that for something else.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's really interesting then. That must be a fun read.
Yeah, and it still works in the movie as a, like, this is, like, a sort of spiritual predecessor to the Guardians we know. Like, these other guys who probably had cool adventures and stuff.
Oh, yeah, as it works so well, again, as I said, like a parody of that style. It is like here's the other D&D group, Here's your new player characters for Borderlands 4.
Oh, yeah.
That's exactly what it feels like.
I like this movie. It specifies that Drax chose his wife because she was the only person in his village who was not partying during, like, a big war, party.
Yeah.
I think that really helps to differentiate, like, Drax is not just, like, one of the only members of his species we've seen, but he's not, like, a normal member of his species. He's weird, even for them.
Well,
he's like...
it is interesting because he's a middle ground between, like, his wife and, the regular people, like, that dance around and have a bunch of fun.
Yeah.
Because he is someone that laughs a hell of a lot and is super energetic and very uppity and everything like that. Not like he doesn't dance, but he is, like, that's the one thing he doesn't do is dance.
Yeah. I guess I see that as he likes the idea of being like very cool and calm and collected. Like he thinks that makes you less of a dork, and because he is also very much a hypocrite. I don't think he realizes that he laughs as much as he does.
That's a good point. I don't think he realizes how insanely energetic he is, that he's the almost exact opposite of his wife.
Yeah, because also, like, Dave Bautista really sells the idea, like, the vibe that every time Drax laughs, I feel like it's the first time he's ever laughed. He finds any joke the funniest thing he has ever heard in his entire life.
He has that, like, Wong at the end of Doctor Strange laugh where it does feel like he's finally cracked, even though he laughs like that every time.
God, I love the scene where he's laughing at Quill, and then Mantis touches him, and then she also is laughing like it's the funniest thing she's ever heard in her entire life.
Where she specifically says that.
She does.
No, this is the greatest humor I've ever experienced. Which, to be fair, might be the only humor she's ever experienced.
Yeah.
Because I cannot imagine that Ego is making a lot of ha-ha jokes.
Yeah, I mean, from what we know about her, Ego found her as, like, you know, a tiny little larva and raised her explicitly so that he could, like, quell the suffering in his mind, the cosmic level horror of, like, I'm so stressed over my progeny and, you know, all the spores I sent out. So, oh, please do something to make me not think about my desire to destroy the universe.
And I guess if it's always, hey, go get child, bring it to me, test child, throw it in cave, it's not like she's going to be talking to friends and they're going to be a child, so she's not really going to have much of a vocabulary.
Yeah, and she does have this very, like, stunted, like, view and this, like, stunted way of speech, which probably does make sense if most of the people she's been hanging out with are children who are about to die.
Yeah, she definitely has that vibe going on. She's got a very, she talks like Chunt from Magic Tavern trying to say an English word.
Yeah,
that's her entire speech pattern. But yeah, I am very excited to see what she's going to do going forward. And I am so glad that we actually were able to do the thing of, like, you know, can't you, you know, you make him fall asleep. Can't you just do that to him because he's the planet? And then the normal movie thing was like, oh no, he's too powerful. I can't. It doesn't work like that. But I love that she was like, oh yeah, go to sleep.
Yeah. Like, she is hesitant, but that also makes sense because he's like a god.
Yeah. But yeah, like, of course, you know, she's not like, you know, oh yeah, I mean, but like, I do like that, you know, it worked, is what I'm saying. Not that she was the one who's like, oh yeah, of course, but that it worked. I like that she actually needed, you know, like, oh yeah, you can do it. I actually didn't believe in her at all. Which I think is one of the only times we've ever seen Drax lie.
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever seen a lie before that scene.
You know, you're right.
It kind of weirded me out a bit, but still.
She's also now the main focus of all of Drax's misogyny.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It hit a lot harder on a rewatch. When I first saw the movie, I was like, yeah, it's just Drax. He's just like that. Now I feel a little worse about her being so, like, wide-eyed and innocent, and he's like, yeah, go pet my puppy. He bit you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, as I was saying, the whole movie, terrible influence. Yeah. The worst.
They're a bad couple.
they're a bad team. They're a very bad influence on everybody all around.
Oh, no. Do you think she's going to be corrupted by them?
Absolutely, 100%. This is going to be emergence.
No.
Also, Rocket being the very, like, Rorschach levels of, like, the he was so happy murdering people in that ship, and he's also like, don't cuss though. I don't like it when you cuss.
I am convinced that he is trying to re-raise Groot to not cuss. It's like the only thing he doesn't like about Groot.
I mean, he also doesn't like it when Groot eats and you know, annoys small animals.
True. To be fair, I guess there's not a whole lot of things he likes about Groot. I was just thinking about Guardians 1. Most of what he interacts with Groot is about how much he doesn't like him and how Groot's so greedy.
Yeah. Which I feel like it is consistent with his, like, younger... I mean, the greedy, maybe not so much, but he is so aggressive towards small animals.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but that's a big part of his character.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Groot was, I feel like, a lot better this movie than he was in the first movie in terms of just being an interesting character that I cared about in any way. But listening to him was the worst.
Baby Groot voice kind of irritating.
Baby Groot voice was the worst. And then they said, what if we made it even worse in the end credits? It was a good gag, though.
Yeah.
It's a good gag, but awful in the ears. It probably would have sounded better in theaters, but in headphones, it sounds awful. You can hear the, like, wood scrapes. It's awful.
I'm pretty sure it was like that in theaters.
Probably.
Did you catch that, much like how Yondu said that he picked up Peter explicitly because he was small and could fit into tight places, Peter then uses baby Groot to fit into a tight place?
Yes, of course. When he was saying that, I thought he was talking about himself. I thought he was like just gonna do it again, and I was like, okay, I guess this is just what I guess the theme is I was the help for getting into small spaces. By the way, I absolutely loved the Mary Poppins scene. So fucking good. Is he badass? Yeah. Yeah.
I told you this before, I'll say it again. That was the only scene I was spoiled on before I saw Guardians for the first time, and it made me so upset because I was afraid this was Disney doing the Age of Ultron thing again with the No Strings on Me songs that just straight up plays.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no, are they going to do a whole Mary Poppins musical?
I love it so much because that scene and this scene are both two of my favorite scenes from the movies. I still love that No Strings song fit in Ultron. Like, specifically the fact that they played the actual song. Like, it's so creepy when it goes from him singing it to that. Yeah. And I mean, I'm just a fan of licensed music in general.
Right.
You go oh no, they're going to play a Disney song every movie. And I go, they're going to play a Disney song every movie. By the way, songs in this movie, not as good as the first one, I feel like. Not as good of a selection, you know. I mean, they were still good, but not as great, you know.
Yeah.
Southern Nights is probably the best one. I mean, well, Mr. Blue Sky. Yeah. Mr. Blue Sky, Southern Nights. they were good.
Yeah. I don't know if I liked Father and Son just because I liked the song or because I liked the scene. I guess it was both.
Yeah, I mean, I like the scene.
Yeah.
But even then, I don't know. I feel like their slow songs were not very interesting.
Okay.
Sorry. But yeah, I don't know. I just felt like they were,
Okay.
I hope Volume 3 has better songs. I don't think it was bad song selection. It was just like, it paled in comparison to the first one. I feel like the first one had such good song selection that it's hard to beat out. You know?
So your current vibe has been a lot of like, you prefer it when they kill people.
Yeah.
And the Guardians the Guardians are not like against killing people.
Oh, I thought you meant like killing off the characters.
No.
Okay.
But like just in general, like kill the enemy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what were you going to say? The Guardians are very like
this is the first movie in a while that has featured a cast of characters who are extremely okay with killing people.
Are they? I mean, it felt like the thing with the Sovereign was a very like, don't worry, we're not just killing people, Who do they like kill in this aside from Ego? I mean, like Ego makes sense. I'm glad they did, but.
Well, I guess the Guardians didn't do it, but Rocket and Yondu kill almost all of Yondu's ravagers.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do like that they have varying levels of who they're willing to like kill.
Yeah. And to be fair, like they are not a monolith. Rocket is like even in Guardians 1, he is the most ready to kill.
Yeah. And
I do think like I
mean, Rocket's ready to just maim innocent people because it's funny. He's like, take the eye, take the leg.
I mean, he just likes the concept of people being hurt.
That's all he lives for.
Like the Yondu and Rocket scene would not have worked. Like, I mean, the one where he's using the arrow to just kill everyone would not have worked with any other members of the Guardians. Yeah. Anyone else would have been like, this is kind of weird, or like, are you actually killing them? Whereas Rocket's like, I'm gonna kill more people too.
Yeah, it only works, of course, with Rocket and the baby.
Ah, yeah.
Those are the only two that are fine with killing. But yeah, I would say Gamora is the most against killing.
Yeah, like Gamora is the one who brings up that, oh, by the way, the Sovereign are all remote controlled. So I'm okay with it.
Yeah. By the way, okay, let's talk about the Sovereign.
Yeah.
Yes. Hold on. Okay, so let's talk about the Sovereign for a second. I love them being the, I love the connection to, like, extremely rich bourgeoisie, like, birth designing, you know, things with video game, like... like what's I don't know a good word for that. You know, just like. The like raging over video games, or the way where they're all like cheering on the one guy and he dies and go, oh, you fucking suck, you suck.
Yeah, like it's a combination of, especially like when they're presenting themselves to outsiders, they are completely different. Yeah. Like when we see them playing the video games, and like when we see Aishi herself playing, and then she gets really mad, her hair's down. Like all of that is entirely Sovereign only. Like no one else is looking at them.
Yeah,
they are very like appearance based.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
I also did want to say that, like, thematically, they're a really strong parallel, or, like, contrast to Ego, in that the first thing we learn about the Sovereign is that each of their citizens is designed specifically by the entire community to perform a specific role in their community. And, like, they treasure every single member so much that, like, they would not let one of them get hurt at all. Whereas Ego, like, despite thinking of himself as the superior being, like, his method of creating their Celestial was just have sex with everyone and just kill all of my children.
Yeah.
Like, it is extremely brute force, and there is no, like, love for Celestials or, like, you know, his own progeny at all.
Yeah.
Like, they are two extremes.
Well, I guess I guess not even, I was going to say, there was love for the Celestials, and I was like, no, he did kind of immediately, like, fuck it then, I'll kill you.
Yeah, like, he didn't want to do it alone, but even then, I'm pretty sure that is more of a, like, you know, he does not want to do it alone. Yeah. It is a selfish act. He doesn't love Peter for more than just the idea that he could, you know, not be alone.
Yeah, exactly.
And plus, like, selfish. And they are also, like, in terms of being extremely powerful and extremely rich looking, they are two extremes where the Sovereign are extremely, like, machine only, and their planet has, like, other planets and moons, like, attached to it. Whereas Ego is all natural, or, like, his vibe is all natural, I should say.
Yeah. It's a good point. I didn't really see those connections.
Mm-hmm.
That is interesting. Yeah, I don't know if I have much else to add to it. I feel like you did a very good explanation of that.
Yeah. Also, actually, I did want to say in reference to the Sovereign, we'll double back for a second, but I did want to say the thing with Rocket and the batteries.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I like thematically that he sees that as a, like, he's very defensive about it, which makes me think in a writing sense, of course, he doesn't like that he did this. And then he has the breakdown of, I'm weak and I just steal, Yondu says that actually, you steal batteries because you got a hole in your heart.
Yeah.
But in the end, they would have been screwed, and the entire universe would have been screwed if Rocket had not stolen those batteries.
Yeah.
They were the only explosives that they had, let alone, like, explosives powerful enough to kill Ego.
Yeah, from a writing perspective, it is a very, like, by the end, it is like, well, if he didn't do it, then they would have all been fucked.
Yeah.
That is interesting. Like, I don't really, I have nothing against Rocket stealing the batteries.
Sure.
Does it make sense from a logical point of view? No. But it makes sense from a fuck you point of view.
Yeah.
He knows that the Sovereign was. I mean, like, I that's what I thought was going on. Like, either at first I thought he was trying to get in for cash. Once he said that wasn't the case, I was like, oh, I guess he was just doing it as a fuck you then. That's pretty funny. But yeah, I mean, that's really all I saw it as. But like from a writing perspective, it does make it feel like were we supposed to go, oh, I'm glad Rocket stole those batteries then because that was the logical choice to make. They might need them.
So the way I see it is, and this is me, this is not like an out-of-universe thing.
Yeah.
The way I see it is, like, a lot of the movie is like a criticism from Rocket and from like Yondu and like from everyone about the way Rocket is. And Rocket himself does not like the way he is. But in the end, if he was not exactly the way he is, the universe would have been screwed. Like, it is the statement of, like, it was ultimately good, but it's not a clean writing thing of course he had to do it, or that was the most logical thing to do. It wasn't logical. But because he is the way he is, it was better overall for everyone.
I guess that is, what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
It doesn't hit me in any meaningful way, but that is what they were trying to do.
Like, it's something that I do like from most of the crew is that for, like, a crew that's based around freedom, or, like, kind of just, roaming around doing whatever they want.
Is that what they are? Like, I thought they're, like, they are kind of mercenaries, but I wouldn't say they just roam around doing whatever they want. Like, they are specifically defending things.
They are, but, like, they're not doing it for a person. Like, they're not even doing it for the Nova.
I guess they were doing it to get Nebula. Like, yeah.
And even that was like, that seemed to be more of a personal thing as well.
Yeah, I was about to. That's what I meant. Like, I guess that was personal actually.
Yeah.
I was thinking they were hired to do that, but then I was like, oh no, that was
just a bounty.
Yeah. Never mind then. You're right. You're right.
But, like, for something like that, I really appreciate it when the writing can make me go, like, okay, so all these people just being themselves offer something to the crew. Like, they don't have to force themselves to be a part of it. Yeah. And I get that for most of them, except for Gamora.
Yeah. Also, to be fair, it is, like, I feel like we didn't have a Rocket feel like accepting himself at the end then.
Yeah, we didn't really.
Yeah,
like, they didn't hammer it home.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, like, I agree, but I don't know if they wanted me to think that about Rockets.
Sure.
I
think that's valid, yeah.
But, like, I do, like, that is, what I like about, as you say, like, they all benefit to the crew in, who they are.
Yeah.
More so than, like, their skills, specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, Rocket and Drax, I feel like, are some of the more, like, nuanced characters as opposed to the other two, and I like them a lot more because of that. Like, I like that Rocket is... Rocket!
It's fine, just go with it.
I love that Rocket is the kind of person to just, it is like the kind of person, like, you go into Walmart and of course you're going to steal something every time. Mm-hmm. Not because you need it, but because fuck Walmart.
Right.
That's what I love about Rocket,
mm-hmm.
And, they do need that sort of person who is going to be the asshole of the crew, essentially.
Yeah. Like, in the same way, I was really happy to see Mantis, of her own volition, like, touching people and trying to do stuff. Like, Gamora stops her. Yeah. But I really appreciated her being a little proactive at the very least, because it showed me that she can kind of, like, she's got a thing that she can do, in addition to being, like, the one where they tell her, hey, do this.
I don't know about that, though. I feel like she was using her powers in very non-consensual ways.
Sure.
Like, Drax is different. Drax loves it. She can use her powers as many times like Drax as she wants. He loves it. But for other people,
sure.
Maybe ask them.
Yeah. I'm not saying that's morally great, but I mean, it's a thing she does.
Yeah. It is a thing she does.
I feel like there's something else I wanted to say about Yondu.
I mean, I feel like we talked a lot about it. Like, Yondu is cool. I love Yondu. What's up with Yondu's teeth?
I guess I'll say for the Ravagers overall, like, this did give us a much bigger scale of what the Ravagers are like. In that, Yondu is an outcast. He's not part of the main Ravagers. And yet he had so many people.
They are a massive faction.
There are 99 other factions that are all presumably about the same size, if not bigger.
Assumingly bigger.
Yeah.
And that is great. Like, they must be bigger, like, they must have more people in it than some planets do.
Yeah.
But I mean, they all are like a collective of different people, so
yeah.
Makes sense. But damn, that is crazy.
It is insane.
Yeah. But like, it makes sense, that they are the, like, it seems like most of the planets don't really, most of the planets we've only seen the richest parts of them.
Right.
Do these planets even have poor, or do they just jettison their poor out into space and the Ravagers pick them up? Like, is that what's going on here?
Plus, like, the Ravagers do seem to be, like, mercenaries in general. And I imagine a lot of planets don't have a way to defend themselves.
Yeah.
So they probably get a lot of requests, like, especially since they have it code is the main thing. Like,
That's true,
in Volume 1, I was like, okay, so they're kind of like space pirates. But in Volume 2, they definitely seem more like an organization with, like, actual morals and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, to a degree.
They're kind of like slightly like a mafia.
I'd say mafia is probably better than just, like,
Slightly.
Because there is a thing that they do together. There's, like, a seat at the table that you can have.
Yeah. And there's, like, they are benefiting the community in ways that the law enforcement does not. But, yeah. I feel like we talked plenty about Yondu. Is there anything else you have to say about Yondu? I mean, I love Yondu. He's the best character in this movie. I don't know what more I can say about him.
I mean, he does suffer from he's not a villain. But in the same way that the MCU as movies have a problem with killing off all their villains, so you don't really have, like, in the comics, you can be really hyper villains because they do get away.
like Loki.
Yeah. Loki is the only one where it's like, oh, I wonder what Loki's doing.
Yoki.
And the Abomination, maybe. He's still out there.
He's still somewhere, maybe. I think it would be cool to have the Abomination come back as a bodyguard to General Ross.
Ooh,
that would be really cool.
That'd be cool.
Because in S.H.I.E.L.D. we have a military guy, Talbot, who is I know, big in the comics as well.
Yeah.
Apparently.
He's big.
He has a personal bodyguard of Creel, who's also very big in the comics, you know? It's cool, you know? It makes sense for a military person to be like, I've captured you. Instead of sending you to prison, I'm just going to have you protect me because, you know, I can do that because I manipulate power. But, you know, they has to do with Ross. I think that would be super fun.
Yeah.
I mean, Abomination can't be controlled, though, which is really the only problem.
I mean, we don't know that, like, in the last 10 years or so.
Yeah,
they should have found a way.
Yeah, put a fucking helmet on him.
Put him in business suits.
Put him in a business suit, put him in a helmet, put him some glasses. I'm here to pick up the coffee for Mr. General Ross.
You did react when he said off-screen the name Jimmy Urine. Are you familiar with him from Mindless Self-Indulgence?
Very familiar with Jimmy Urine. He apparently had a song in this and was in it?
He was one of the Ravagers.
What? Wait. Oh. Was it in the background?
No, he had like a bunch of shots like very close up.
Was he the eye guy? The one they take the eye out of? Okay. That was not the eye guy, but okay, with the Skrillex hair. Yeah, okay. Oh man, yeah, he was pretty prominent.
Yeah, he had a lot of scenes where he was like screaming, looking at the camera, you gotta see him. Yeah. He was having a lot of fun.
Oh, that's great. I didn't even notice. Yeah, I appreciate he was there during the Groot scene as well, where they were pouring beer on him.
Yeah.
I cannot talk. To be fair, I just did before this a 2-hour reaction to something.
You're pushing your limits.
Yeah. So,
but yeah, and on Contraxia, which was the hooker planets.
Oh
yeah. There was a song playing in the background. That was his.
Okay.
We didn't hear it very clearly.
Yeah, it was like the electronic one. Electro.
Yeah. There are vocals, but I think they also intentionally muffled them so they sounded more alien.
Yeah. Also, that was a cool idea for a planet where they were all robot prostitutes. It seems like. Yeah, I don't know how that works. I hope that's not actual AI. I hope they're just robots.
They're probably into it. It's fine. They're into it.
Let's hope there's no real AI.
I was talking with a parent about this a while back, and that scene reads real weird if you're a kid. Because, it is just, I mean, it's weird, but it's also not that weird, because it is just a bunch of Raptors partying outside with some robot girls that they like, and then Yondu doesn't want to party, so he's in a room with another robot girl, and they're just relaxing, it's fine.
I feel like you don't want to hang out with the boys.
It's too loud outside, I'm going to be here with my robot friends, who turned herself off. Is there anything to say about Taserface?
Really good for what he was, you know?
He doesn't overstay his welcome.
Yeah.
And I do think, I think they sold the idea of him being, the idea of the crew flipping for him fairly well. Because, some of them had an actual love for Yondu. Those are all the ones they kicked out. But the vast majority of the group were just there to, chill and be space pirates.
Pretty much, yeah. Makes sense.
So it makes sense that upon seeing Yondu be soft, and after, especially not having Yondu around, they were like, you know what?
Yeah.
Let's just party. Let's take over.
And dude, that was a brutal scene with them all being ejected out of the plane, and Yondu just having to sit there and watch, and as they're being drugged, whew, man. Lot of Ravager death.
A lot of Ravager
death in this movie. Oh boy.
Also, just how far he plummeted in strength. His main thing really is the arrow. And the arrow is so powerful that it makes you go, yeah, I see why he's, a leader of the Ravagers.
Yeah.
He can kill the entire crew in, a few minutes if he wants to. But at the same time, if you take out that weak point, that's it. He can't do anything unless he has a backup.
Yeah. Also, so that, this whole time I was I didn't think he was Kree because, he's got this thing on his head. But it's okay, that was just a completely thing that, was for the arrow, not part of his species at all.
Yeah. I don't know if they say it in the movies. In Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they bring up, oh, by the way, there are, 5 blue types of aliens in the universe. One of them the name dropped was the Centaurians. Okay. And that's what he is.
Oh, wait, they did?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. God damn it. I thought they said he was a Kree.
No, they didn't.
Motherfucker.
But no, he's a Centaurian.
Did they say Kree? What are we talking about with Kree in this movie? I thought we were talking about... I had to rewatch that scene now.
Yeah, it wasn't him.
They were talking about Kree with Yondu. I was talking over it. I thought they said that he was Kree. God damn it.
But no, he ain't a Kree.
Oh, well. That doesn't really change anything anyway. But okay, Centaurian.
He's
I mean, that makes sense with the head thing, actually. Is that a thing? But then Kraglin has it.
I mean...
I don't know. Also, what's up with the teeth? What's up with the teeth?
It's just alien grills, I guess. I don't know.
But they have to carve their teeth that way. That's the only thing I can think is that like it is a specific tradition that only a couple of them do.
Yeah.
It's weird. But okay, they carve their teeth.
Speaking of Kraglin, do you think he is going to be a guardian?
No.
Do you think he's just chilling on the ship?
I think he's just gonna... Yeah, actually, that's a good point. I feel like he could just be the captain. You know? Why not?
I mean... Wait, captain of what?
I guess not captain. I guess I mean like a person that just sits on the ship when they're not on it. Is that captain? But no, I think he'll just be there, maybe. I don't know. I think he'll just go off and join the Ravagers by his own. I don't... Yeah. It's a weird thing he's still on the ship in the end credits.
That's why I wanted to bring it up. Like, it is ambiguous. Is he a guardian?
No, he's never in the shots. No.
Yeah.
No. Pilot, maybe.
Do you think he's going to learn how to use the arrow? Or, like, is that just a goof?
Yeah, I think he is going to learn how to use it. I think he will.
Okay.
He's not going to be as good with it, but...
Yeah.
I also am so happy that they talked about the heart and the using the heart and not the mind. During the whole scene on the ship, I kept going like, how does this work? Because he's not looking at them, but then he does specifically look at them through the monitors to be able to see them at other places.
Right.
But it is like if they're in the same room, he doesn't need to look like,
yeah.
You know, he's not using his brain. But if it's not in the same room, he definitely needs to be using his eyes and his brain.
Yeah. Like, his heart is just going, I want to kill these guys.
Yeah.
But then he doesn't know where the guys are sometimes, so he's got to actually look at them.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, and I really like that, you know, idea, because that's a big problem that I have with Doctor Strange and just with magic in general. Is like, I hate when I, you know, go like, I don't know how this would work. Like, how do you do it? And it makes sense with, like, Yondu, if it is like a heart thing. Like, a lot of other heart stuff where it's like, if Doctor Strange was like, oh, you use your heart, I'm like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. What do you mean? You know? But, like, an arrow seeking out a target, you know, makes sense with, like, a heart, you know, sort of, you know, he doesn't literally mean his heart, but, you know, he means his, like, I don't control it logic, like, I want it to go there. I'm just thinking, I want that guy dead, I want that guy dead, I want that guy dead, I want this guy dead behind me, everybody behind me I want dead, and the arrow can, you know, do that, and it's very mechanical in itself, too. Whereas, like, yeah, Peter's Godfather's doing that. It is like the, you know, you can't be going like, okay, I want to put this rock here, and then this rock here, and then that rock there. Yeah. You know, you got to just be going, I want to make Pac-Man, and then the rocks will come together to make Pac-Man.
I love Pac-Man. I want to be Pac-Man.
Pac-Man is my dad. Yeah, I think that's good talk about the Ravagers.
Sure.
What else you got for me? Hit me with those trivias.
Oh, boy. So, you saw Stan Lee?
Oh, yes. Stan Lee, interdimensional traveler. It canonically has been the same person in all those appearances.
It's canon.
It is canon. I don't know who the hell he was talking to. I don't know if they're going to come out with another movie or if that was just going to be a reference to something.
So, this is something that people in, like, a lot of people in theaters would have known. So even back in Phase 1, the big theory about Stan Lee as a character showing up in the MCU was that he was something from the comics known as a Watcher.
Okay.
And the Watchers, like...
I have heard of that before. When I saw them, I was like, this design looks familiar.
Yeah, they're very iconic. But the general thing about the Watchers is they look at events, they don't interfere with them.
Okay.
And, like, Earth's Watcher in particular sometimes interferes, you know. He's a little bit of a rebel.
As you do, sometimes.
But generally, they just look. And so, for a while, people are like, is that what Stan Lee is doing? Is he just, like, chilling in the background, making sure things are kind of okay?
But, okay, so not a Watcher.
Yeah.
But...
in the credits, they call him a Watcher Informant.
Okay.
So...
gotcha. That's a nice bit of trivia. I like that. Yeah. And it does canonicize them. Blah.
Yeah. Also, depending on how much you want to read into it, in the end credits, like, something happens, and the Watchers stop, you know, completely ignore him and walk off. So, maybe something big is happening, and they're like, oh, let's go watch that.
Yeah, I guess, are they just universe watchers? Like...
maybe.
Unless something big is happening on Earth again, right now, during the... Well, actually, that would have been... What would that have been? I guess that would have been... What happened immediately after Guardians?
Chronologically, next would have been Age of Ultron.
Okay, so I guess they were like, well, let's go check out Ultron.
Now, this does open a weird thing in that James Gunn and Stan Lee did sit down for this and go like, okay, which one should we reference? And they eventually decided, okay, we're going to reference his appearance in Civil War. That's why he says, that time, let me tell you about the time I was a FedEx employee.
Oh, actually, yeah, it doesn't make any goddamn fucking sense.
Yeah.
So he has to be a time traveler as well, I would assume.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that makes sense.
But
then why would they be wanting to go watch something that they've already been told about?
Yeah. James has said that it was probably just some other time he was a FedEx employee because I don't that one up. Gun! But it is a universe, so if someone slots in something, right between 2 and Civil War, where Stan Lee shows up again now as a cyborg and is also a FedEx employee, we can fix it. It's still fixable.
Oh, stop, no.
Yeah, it gets me that they sat down and thought about it and, actually discussed it. And they even thought, maybe we'll reference Deadpool. Maybe we'll just reference something that is not in the MCU to make it, multiversal.
No. No.
And the one they settled on was Civil War, which does not work in the timeline.
It's better than Deadpool. God damn, I can't imagine how much that would make me furious. It's like the Spider-Man Venom stuff.
Now, there is actually one other piece of Deadpool trivia.
Oh, boy.
Which is, of course, that... So, I've talked to you before about the rights problems inherent in Marvel overall.
Yep.
So, when they were going to use Ego, they did not have the rights to use Ego.
Mm-hmm.
And James Gunn had already, he had big-brained it. He was like, I'm not going to use Jason. I'm going to use Ego for Peter's dad. And, he planned it all out. And it does work really well thematically.
Yeah.
And he did not have a backup plan when the legal staff told him, by the way, you can't use Ego.
Of course.
So they went to Fox and they made a deal where Fox basically wanted to take a character they wanted to change the powers of a mutant character. They have the rights to all the mutants, but they wanted to change her powers in the comics, I believe, as well.
What?
Because they were like, we really like her name and we like her vibe, but we don't like what she is as a person, as powers. So can we tweak that? If you're willing to tweak that, even in the comics, then we will let you slide by with the Ego thing.
That's crazy. Why the comics? I mean, can you tell me what character it was? Or is that...
I mean, you're not going to watch Deadpool.
No, I'm not.
It's a character named Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
Okay. I've heard of that name.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I don't know anything about it, but I've definitely heard that name, and what was the original power?
So she was generally psychic. She had a bunch of different powerful psychic abilities, and they wanted her to, they also wanted to change her look as well. So they wanted to make her more of a punk who blows stuff up.
I mean, fitting for the name.
Yeah, because the writer of Deadpool, whose name I don't remember, it's the guy who plays Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
He really liked the name Teenage Negasonic Warhead.
It's a good name.
So he was like, you know what? I want to use her, but her whole thing doesn't really work. So can we change that? And then mysteriously, Marvel came up and said, oh, by the way, we made a bit of an oopsie. Do you want a favor? And he was like, oh boy, I'm going to take cash of the favor.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough.
I love that one for how lopsided it is. It's not like Quicksilver where they just did two different things. It is we want to make a little tweak to this character who is important but not that big. In exchange, we'll give you the power to use this entire planet that is the crux of your entire multi-million-dollar movie.
Yeah, it's a bit, but yeah. Well, that's what you get for putting yourself in that situation.
Yeah, it worked out.
In the end, we got what we wanted.
Also, Howard the Duck showed up again.
Howard the Duck did show up again.
Do you think we're heading towards some sort of big Howard the Duck climax?
No.
No?
I feel like it's the last time we're going to see Howard the Duck.
Okay.
I don't know anything about Howard the Duck, though. I don't know shit about it.
Well, once you finish the MCU, there is a Howard the Duck movie
from
the past.
No.
You can always watch it.
Why do I feel like it's going to be even more sexist than Guardians of the Galaxy?
Oh, no. Final bit of out-of-universe trivia is that Guardians 2 was announced a week before Guardians 1 came out. Guardians 3 was announced a few weeks before Guardians 2 came out.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, and then everything happened, and now he's back.
He's back on.
Oh, fucking can't believe they fucking... I mean, I can believe it. I can believe it.
On their side of things, it really doesn't help that for a lot of the other like MCU heroes and groups and stuff, they are sort of like a concept, and no one's really like putting a lot into them that is them themselves.
Yeah.
Whereas the Guardians are James Gunn's thing. Like there are Guardians in the comics, but they're
he's
not
very good at it. I would be totally fine if somebody else took over. He's not very. I feel like all the parts that are very clearly him are not the good parts.
Fair.
You know, so I don't care.
It's something where, like, I think just the studio system would not allow it. Like, they can't think of anyone else who would be able to do, like, that mix of comedy and music references and stuff. Like, that's why, as soon as they fired him from Guardians 3, he was like, you know what? I'm going to WB. I'm going to do a Suicide Squad movie. I'm going to fill it with music references.
And it was terrible.
No, that's on it, though. That's on it.
Okay.
This was after the first Suicide Squad movie.
Oh, okay.
So, the second one, he's doing the second one, and he still is doing the second one.
Okay. Gotcha.
They scooped him up immediately, and that is part of why Disney was like, oh crap, no, they have gone. We need him back.
No, you don't. You really don't. He's not good at this.
So, I mean, there's a lot that happens between now and Volume 3.
Yeah.
But in terms of just general like stuff, like we're done with Quill's mom, we're done with Quill's dad, we're done with Quill's adoptive dad.
Quill Grandma next.
Oh no! Like
Quill Brother.
What do you think in general? Like for if Volume 3 were to happen like right after this, like where do you think we're going with Peter? What's he doing?
Where are we going with Peter?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a toughie. I think...
Like, with most of the others, I don't think it's that interesting. Like, Drax is going to be Drax. Gamora is going to fight someone and save some girls or something.
I think the third one would... No, I mean, if it's Gunn again, she's not going to have any fucking focus. What am I talking about? What are they going to do with Peter? What the fuck are they going to do with Peter after this? I don't know what they can do with Peter after this. What's another galaxy level threat they can do that's more interesting than this? I don't know.
Do you think they're going to delve more into Celestial stuff, or do you think this is a soft, like, stop? Like, okay, we're not going to do that anymore.
I'm guessing that it's going to be, hey, we're going to talk with the Celestials now. We know who the Celestials are by the time Volume 3 comes out, and we're going to talk with the Celestials now, is my guess.
Do you think the rest of them were avoiding Ego because they, like Yondu, were like, oh yeah, that guy's an asshole?
Yeah, they all hated him. That or the Eternals, or whatever the hell that is, you know? Dealing with that.
Okay.
You know, run off of that, or connecting into that, or something, I don't know.
Because, I mean...
There's not a whole lot of that, but they could.
Because it is notable that, like, when Volume 3 was announced, like, before this movie came out, James Gunn also said, it's in Volume 5. So,
you mean Phase 5?
Yeah, Phase 5. So, you know, it is very possible that they might be doing something in Phase 4 that'll then, like, segue into it. Yeah. As opposed to, like, having to come up with a completely new thing to do.
Yeah. Fantastic Four is going to be in the MCU, right?
Yeah.
I wonder how that works. That could tie into Guardians of the Galaxy pretty easily from the teeniest, littlest bit of Fantastic Four I've read.
Okay.
You know, they're very alien-based.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That could be interesting.
And it's very, like, you know, its own team sort of thing. You know? Which is not really a thing outside of, like, in the movies, outside of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right.
You know, we got, like, the Netflix crew and everything like that, but, yeah.
Do you think that, like, in, you know, going into, like, the big crossovers and stuff that we're going to get into, do you think the Guardians of the Galaxy are going to stay distinct as their own faction? Because...
Yeah.
Okay, because...
Fully.
With the first movie, you were on the train of, like, well, they got to become Avengers, though, right?
Yeah. Now, they ain't gonna be Avengers. It's its own thing. It feels so weird. Like, it's crazy that it's taking us to, like, you know, Phase 4 to get into anything else that's not the Avengers. And also, the Avengers feel so weird because there's, like, 4 Avengers that are, like, have been around for, like, have had multiple movies, are very well characterized.
Right.
And there's a huge group of Avengers that we are very recently introduced to and don't know a whole lot about.
Right. It's...
You know, and so it's weird. And then we also have the Guardians of the Galaxy, which is their own faction. And I gotta be honest, I was expecting all this to be a lot more feeling like it was, like, the pace has just, you know, been cartwheeling faster and faster. You know, Phase 1 was very slow. Phase 2, a little bit. Phase 3 has just been just nonstop.
Yeah.
Pace has been wild.
I mean, it's the longest phase, and it's also, like, the most fast phase.
Yeah, shit's just happening quickly.
Yeah, like, I get why Phase 1 had to, by its very nature, be slow, because they didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
Their big gamble was, what if we combine them in the Avengers? Like, would that work? Would that sell?
Yeah.
Whereas, like, Phase 2, I think they could have definitely benefited from more of, like, what they did in Civil War, where they introduced, like, new entire heroes in other heroes' movies. Whereas Phase 2, as we got it, was mostly just, like, here's some sidekicks.
Yeah. And, you know, it's interesting that a lot of them are getting their own thing as, like, TV shows now.
Yeah.
As opposed to movies. Which is interesting, because if you're doing that, I feel like you gotta start tying it together more now. Like, if you're gonna say, like, if you want Hawkeye's whole story, you gotta check out the Hawkeye TV show, too.
Right.
And it's like, well, okay, then, you know, what about all the other TV shows? So, it's interesting what they're doing.
Yeah.
What else you got for me?
I got some scraps, like, did you know that in the end credit scene with the, you know, proto-Guardians of the Galaxy with Stakar, did you know that Stakar and Aletta are husband and wife?
In real life?
No, just in the movie.
Okay.
He brings it up on the Hooker planets.
Okay.
Also, first alien sorcerer we see.
Yeah.
Using actual magic.
So, okay, there are, like, yeah, other sorcerers and other planets. I mean, as we assumed, as they said.
Yeah. Also, Robot Head on Table is played by Miley Cyrus.
Robot Head on Table.
In that scene when, like, with Stakar, there's a robot head on a table.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that was Miley.
That was Miley.
Yeah, because you did tell me that they were in this movie.
Yeah.
Okay, wow. Did not recognize it at all. I mean, to be fair, I didn't. If you told me like Stakar, and the Alien Sorcerer, I couldn't tell you another one of them. Like, now that you said the Alien Head, I'm like, okay, the Alien Head. Right. I can't name any of the other ones. I can't even remember who the hell it was. I feel like this is a good place to wrap it up.
Yeah, I think we good.
Mm-hmm. I will see you guys for the next movie, which is Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yeah.
That's what it is, and I'm gonna watch it.
Oh,
so you can watch it too. Go watch it. Get the fuck out of here.